What's up, Duckers, and welcome to the June episode of a Ducking Wrestling podcast. We are going to go live with George and Lathan here in just a couple of minutes, but wanted to welcome everybody, audio listeners. Thank you all for being here. People who's watching on YouTube and Rumble, we appreciate y'all. Let's get ready for the show.
Previously on a Ducking Wrestling podcast.
Raven rules.
Well, I mean, it's.
I don't think that was his saying, but all right.
No, have a
Oh,
good
hell,
time.
he's from he's the pride of ninja.
It's a nice day. It's a nice day.
Wait,
I fucked it up.
Which, by the way,
In the 90s, that was a nitro.
Hey, everybody. Welcome to the June episode of a Ducking Wrestling podcast. I am Art, always here for you, joined by my two co-hosts this week. We are a three-person panel. The OG's back at it again. We got that Chocolate Thunder Lathan over here. Down here on the bottom, we got that one man keeping Lubies open. Mr. Jose, Mr. Too Hard, Too Fast. Fellas! It's June, baby. We have passed the year mark for our show. What is going on?
Not too much, brother. First of all, let's start off by saying happy birthday from whenever this actually gets recorded. So, one of our founding fathers, his birthday is coming up soon, or past by the time this gets uploaded. So, give him a shout out. Happy birthday, Art.
Hey, happy
George Washington. Oh,
and
Art.
same to you, sir, because yours is coming up as well, depending on when this comes out. So,
Oh, yeah.
yeah.
Shit, depending when this is coming up, might be my birthday.
Shit, but thank you, sir. I do appreciate it. George, what's up, man? Long time no see, brother.
It's been here, man. You guys forgot about me last time. You didn't send me the link.
We actually just left him on the screen
In the waiting room.
We just left him
Yeah,
on.
it's like, nah.
No,
He didn't want
remember,
the parties anyways.
George, we were 100% honest with our fans because that's how we roll. It's okay to admit that you got your identity stolen by a Indian company that was pretending to be Microsoft and you were trying to get it back. It's fine. No shame. No shame.
Yeah, no, my former Instagram is selling computers now. It has more followers than I ever got, so.
You and the African prince have a very happy life together, bro.
Don't know how, but that African prince is all of a sudden selling 5,000 iPads for $22 each.
It's a good deal. You hop on it. I got like 4 of them coming.
Yeah, I bet you do. Is that just what you're supposed to sell for him?
Listen, I'm just trying to support our friend, okay?
All right.
Him and his African prince husband.
Hey, they're a cute couple nonetheless. But guys, so we are gonna do something different this month. I know a lot of fans out there, it's really difficult to listen or watch like a 2.5 hour pay-per-view recording, and we want to try something different. So what we did for June is we kind of picked a match, a very famous, well-known match that we watched, we took notes on. We're going to record, keep it nice and short, and see kind of how that works for everybody. Oh my God, y'all. If you're not watching this, y'all need to go take a look because Lathan has emojis floating by his head, and I don't think he knows what's triggering them, so they're just the most random fucking things. Just,
Me, I'm triggering them.
oh, he's hitting them on the God. That's funny. That's funny. Yeah, they just randomly keep going by. But for June, we're looking at the match between Ric Flair and Kerry Von Erich from Parade of Champions WCCW. We kind of told y'all when we started this that we were going to go deep. We were going to go balls deep. And up to now, we've really only kind of covered WWE and WCW. So now we're going way back. So we are going to talk about Parade of Champions, the Flair versus Kerry Von Erich match. Before we get going, big shout out to Cowboy Revolution, the official hat of a Ducking Wrestling podcast. Go find the link in our bio on all of the platforms. Get you 15% off. And I will say, this is one of my favorite hats. It is comfortable. I have sweated balls in it. And
it goes on your head.
Oh,
wrong head, sir.
You're wearing it on the wrong head.
There's my issue. Okay, I got it. But even then, no sweat lines. So y'all go check out the link, 15% off, and get you one. Shirts, hats, whatever you need. But guys, so this event,
I need one.
Yeah, you do. You definitely need one. I'll send you our link. So guys, this event took place May 6th, 1984. We are just over 40 years from this event. None of us were alive. So it was really kind of interesting to see.
Or were we? Maybe we were.
I mean, maybe.
Maybe we're living a second life, a third life.
Yeah, I mean, we may be. I may have been back there just living La Vida Loca at that point.
Yeah, your dad's nutsack.
You were probably Mexican in a different life.
Not in not in 84. I wasn't living down there. But guys, so what were y'all's first real quick, just kind of an overall overview of it. What were y'all's first impressions of the show?
Man, it was for me, I remember, like, it's kind of one of those things where, like, of course you hear about the history of the WCCW and like the Von Erich curse after all these years, and you hear about the match. It was for the first time watching it. It's actually pretty entertaining, pretty exciting, because you always, for me, I always remember seeing clips of it in so many documentaries and stuff going back, but I never actually watched the full match. And I think I'm the only one that was actually in conception when this was 84.
I mean, unless you
unless it's a 12-month pregnancy. Yeah, you're right.
Yeah, I was gonna say no offense to Mama Hall, but I don't think she's an elephant where the gestation.
And listen, she was ready to get me up out of her when it was time. It was 8.5 months, not 9. So I know it wasn't this. But like, it was pretty cool just to go back and see Texas Stadium in itself, like, as big as it was. That's where the Cowboys used to play back before they moved on to their new stadiums and whatnot over the years. And just to see the fuller impact of how they filled out the arena for the match, it was huge. Like, it kind of put in perspective what everybody used to say about how the Von Erichs would massively sell out these arenas and venues up in Dallas. So yeah, it was pretty cool.
I thought it was weird seeing that. Well, it was like a good weird, and seeing the stadium. I thought it was real funny the way the intro was. Like, they're like showing the stadium and they're talking about the matches that are coming up, and so they show the images and they just look like my old PowerPoint videos. Just like you barely even got to see anything. They're just like, yeah. Yeah, so it went by so fast. So it just looked like a really crappy PowerPoint video.
Technology.
You know what it looked like was the old screensavers on the old computers where it would just like the little ball would bounce and it would come out of nowhere and like do that. That's kind of how it looked. But I mean, George, you're right with that. With the and you think about it, your old PowerPoint, even 20 years ago, your PowerPoint would have been way advanced in 1984 for them to be using anything that remotely looked like that.
That's true.
And I think that was one of the things with WCCW was they were kind of the innovators of a lot of stuff. They were really the first ones, from my understanding anyway, to use entrance music.
Yeah, that was weird to have Ric Flair not come out to entrance music. That was like the
That
first note.
We're gonna get to that point. We're gonna get to that point. But this show was the David Von Erich tribute show from Texas Stadium, the home of the at that point two-time world champion Dallas Cowboys. David Von Erich died February 9th of 1984, so we're just about 3 months, almost 3 months from his death date. And y'all were talking about, with Texas Stadium. I mean, it was a packed it was pretty packed until they zoomed out and then you saw like half the stadium was empty. But that was a damn loud, hot crowd for this show.
Yeah, definitely. I think it's like in that regard, it was for the spacing, right, that they had to use because they were on the field. If they would have literally had that same availability to use the rafters and still occupy the for the time, it looks like it was sold out arena, for attendance. But yeah, but it was still an amazing sight just to see the crowd interacting and like for them. I don't know if it's the network that kind of boosted the audio, but you kind of felt immersed in the sound of the crowd that was um, always loud from the start to finish of this match. Like, it's like it seems like I don't want to say it's piped in crowd audience, but at the same time, like it felt so natural. Like you can imagine that that's how it actually felt in the moment in 1984. Also,
Yeah, I don't think it was piped in because the crowd responded pretty well with everything. So yeah, I don't think it was piped in, but I mean,
It looked like there was a moment when Von Erich is entering that security had to hold people back, like they were trying to get to him.
that was kind of, yeah. If you ever go back and watch any of the old WCCW, because they're all on Peacock, you can go back and watch all of their weekly shows on there, and I've watched a few. But yeah, the Von Erichs, I mean, the people were nuts for them, and specifically the women. The women were crazy after Kevin and Kerry and David, at that point.
can you blame them? They make me moist in the undercarriage.
We're just gonna let that one simmer for a second.
Yeah.
It's a good time for an ad break. We'll be right back.
The new sponsor, Blue Chew.
Hello, wrestling fans. This is Fanboy Dave. Catch myself, Big Kev, and Jeremy from Brothers of Discussion weekly on Spotify, Apple Podcasts, and any other platform you use to listen to your favorite podcasters. We talk about WWE mostly and have a real good time giving our takes. And every now and then, might throw a little shade at AEW. So hope you give us a shot. You won't be disappointed.
Oh man. But let's talk real quick about David Von Erich, the whole point for this show. He was kind of from my understanding with WCCW, Kerry had the body and the looks, Kevin had the athleticism, David had the charisma, athleticism. He was kind of the for lack of a better word, the total package. And he was expected to at some point end up being the NWA champion. Well, he had gone and done a tour in Japan, and from several documentaries, whether it's the rise and fall of WCCW that WWE produced, a decade ago. You had the Dark Side of the Ring on the Von Erichs. You've had several things that kind of put the Von Erichs under the microscope for kind of what the family as a whole experienced. I mean, the tragedy has just been insane with that family. But everything that you've ever seen has given a different story of David Von Erich's death. So you had Kevin's story that uh, David died from toxic shock syndrome from like a ruptured gut. Then you've had other stories from different people who were in WCCW in Japan at the time that it was an overdose. You've just had so many different stories that I don't know if there's ever been a solid reason that the public has been made aware of that everybody can say this is the reason he died. Do y'all know anything? Any comments on that?
I only know what they showed in the movie. And we all know Hollywood lies. No, I mean, I wanted to believe that maybe it was just a rupture, but back then, who knows? It was the 80s. And if you remember the 80s, you weren't there. So
there's a t-shirt.
So and then when seeing how big the family was, maybe what kind of connections they had, maybe they try to hide it to, take away some embarrassment or shame or whatever. This is just speculation.
Yeah.
Yeah. I always thought it was like a causation of both. Like the two can be truthful at the same time. Like maybe the causation of him taking some of the drugs he took is him having a ruptured intestine of some sort, But I'm gonna trust Kerry's validation on this one, I guess, because the family said that the coroner said that it was a stomach or intestine rupture. Ric Flair let him tell it. Brody had swept all the drugs away before the ambulance came and they picked him up and stuff. So it's always been up in the air. I'll leave it where it's at. And the best I've come to conclusion is like, yeah, he probably did have a stomach rupture, but yeah, he probably did do drugs too. Because like George said, if it's the 80s. So they were doing a little bit of something. They don't talk like the one thing I'm like you learn about the Von Erich families, they don't talk a lot about their indiscretions when some of them when it comes to the recreational use, but they're holding up they're holding up their own image, right? Like they have a particular good persona that they want to keep emulated to the public. So it just is what it is.
Yep, fair enough, man. Yeah, I don't know. I encourage everybody go out, watch some of the old WCCW with the Von Erichs, watch David's stuff. He was really, really talented. Him dying so young, I think they said he was 24 when he died, and figure it out for yourselves. But so we get started with the match. I found it interesting. Ric Flair came out with no entrance music, and there was no entrance way for them to come through. They just came through the damn crowd, and just somebody lifted like a piece of twine to let let Ric Flair into the arena. And I maybe that was just how it was back then. I mean, a lot of the stuff you see from the territories, there's at least some kind of walkway, right?
There is, but you're also in Texas Stadium. I don't think you had the fundamental structure set up to where you can be able to pull that off, especially with them because like what is this? We're in May. David died in February, right? So you only have like a solid month and a half to put this together. And so, like, so some of the things that I would assume they probably wanted to do, they didn't have enough of a time frame to do it in because transporting things back then in the 80s, I assume, is a lot more complicated than our wonderful, glorified, technology-driven universe now. So, that was definitely a weird sight to see. Was Ric Flair coming out to no music at all?
Yeah,
so
we're so used to the iconic music for Ric Flair that to have nothing with, and they were like on his way to the ring, and I'm like, oh shit, all right,
Was he already doing the woo?
Yeah, he had been doing that. That's it even goes back to those the old AWA days. So its character is still the Nature Boy. It's just that I don't know. They didn't really have promo set up before they walked out. They just kind of walked out. But he was still styling profile on Ric Flair that we know today.
It was weird. It was weird too that it was like a middle match. Like it wasn't the main event kind of match.
Yeah, I have that. I have that noted on here that they on the Peacock showing of it kept saying like that we're broadcasting this as close to the original as possible, but there were technical difficulties and whatever. So they announced coming into it that they were having a mixed tag match, and they made sure to say this is a legal mixed tag match. I'm like, oh, okay, I don't know why it would be illegal. I guess I don't know, but yeah, I found it weird too that it was like I honestly I thought that because of the technical difficulties, the only thing that they had of the broadcast was the Flair match with Kerry Von Erich, and then randomly they have like the match afterwards, which was really weird. I don't know the logic behind that. I guess Fritz would have been the booker at that time, or yeah, I don't know.
Yeah, because I feel like if everybody's there to see Rick and VonErich, is everybody else dipping out for his next people?
I don't know.
I think it was just set up like that for the show on Peacock.
Like get out of the parking lot early kind of thing.
I don't know, Lathan. I mean, it wouldn't make a whole lot of sense to recut the stuff for Peacock to move the main event to the middle of the show, because the first match we had was Butch Reed versus some guy I've never heard of, and then you have the World Heavyweight Championship, which I mean, for people who don't know, the NWA Championship at that time was the outside of the WWF was the biggest championship in the country, and it was one person who went around to multiple territories as the world champion. So it was a big deal to carry the 10 pounds of gold.
But I was saying that because I'm on the Wikipedia page and they're showing the full card, and Chris Adams and Sunshine versus Jimmy Garvin and Precious, which comes on after this match on the network, is the second match of the show.
Interesting.
Yeah. And then you also have like Kamala versus Kabuki, the Great Kabuki, which was I think it was an episode over. Yeah. And so like I think they just for the network they just took clips of the matches from certain events and put them on the thing. Because they have it on here, they have it as the main event.
All right, so there we have it. That kind of explains why it was randomly in the middle of the show there. But getting back to the match, man, dude, the bitches loved Kerry and just everything he did. Like you could tell the crowd was behind him, and of course, Flair's the villain. Kerry's the hometown boy who is fighting in his brother's honor, and even down to like the jacket coming into the ring and just all of it. So of course the crowd's gonna boo Ric Flair, but damn, like the women just were all over Kerry Von Erich, which George kind of alluded to with the security trying to keep him off of him just to get to the ring.
Yeah, man, that's a classic Von Erich entrance. Apparently, that was one of the bigger things always in Dallas is that they would always lightly SA them on the way to the ring, if you will. They pepper it in. A couple of hands, everywhere and stuff. But yeah, it was crazy to see them actually do it. I was like, oh, I thought this was just a thing that people used to over exaggerate. No, it's real. It's real.
Yeesh.
I mean, Kerry was the one that had the body of the family. Like when it came to the wrestling body, like of the '80s, that's Kerry.
I mean, I'd be okay with some of them grabbing up on me.
I'm not gonna say no.
Well, then
You
because
say that now, but until it happens, then it's like, no.
George knows. George knows from experience. He's like, no, don't stop.
I'm not
not
gonna
a
whip out
piece
my
of
rape
meat.
whistle or nothing.
Oh,
we say that because it ain't happening to us.
right? That shit would happen to me.
Why you no touch me?
Because I bet I'd be willing to bet in the next match or whatever the Kamala match, they weren't doing that to him.
He was touching himself. Yeah, just rubbing that big old belly.
Oh man.
Wrong part of Texas, Kamala. You will not be loved here.
Oh Jesus. And there we go, getting kicked off of every platform except Rumble.
Cancel this fuck.
But you know, watching the match and seeing Kerry's physique and everything, it reminded me back when we were talking about Survivor Series 1990, and we kind of brought up the fact that Kerry Von Erich was just a much more talented Ultimate Warrior. And I think he could have been what the Ultimate Warrior was, or at that time, had it not been for the accident with his foot. I think that just ruined him as a person and everything. But I saw a lot of like grabbing Flair and he's like thrashing around and everything. Like you kind of saw a lot of the Ultimate Warrior in that moment.
That's funny. I was thinking that like when I was looking at it, like it reminded me a lot of the Ultimate Warrior, especially like the body and all that.
Yeah. And the Ultimate Warrior started out in WCCW, didn't he? He was the Dingo Warrior.
Him and Sting went through there for like a cup of tea during the territory days. Yeah.
Can y'all? I'm curious about y'all's answer to this, and I'm going to ask this question, and we're going to take turns answering it. Why the fuck has Ric Flair always looked like he was 50 years old?
When you white, you go right.
Is that a saying?
I don't know. I just made it up. White don't crack, brown don't frown. When you white, you right.
When you white, you ripen too early in life.
Yeah. Between all the tanning beds and everything, y'all have to put yourselves through, bless y'all's heart. I just aged differently.
Man, he's always looked the same until he hit about 80 years old, and then it went really downhill. But
no, he just shriveled up.
Yeah.
He really ripened at that point.
That's like,
oh my goodness.
That's like that fruit you keep in the fruit bowl that you're like, man, I cannot wait to eat that. And then all of a sudden it's like shriveled up and old and got fruit flies.
Yeah.
Because when you're styling and profiling, you're just wear out faster.
Yeah.
He lived a lifetime of lives.
That's
true. Ric Flair has lived everybody's life 7 times over and twice on Sunday.
Man. Yeah, some of the stories about him, like I fancy myself a drinker, but good God, no.
My liver's tapping out just thinking about it. I'm good.
But you know what, guys? This match, like normally I like kind of faster paced matches with guys who are that size and everything, but there was a really good pace in this match. Like they had their moments where it was real slow to start, which the slow start kind of got on my nerves because I'm sitting there watching it and I know exactly what's going to happen next. Like it was super choreographed to start. It's like, okay, side headlock, off the ropes, shoulder tackle, off the ropes, drop down, and Flair's going to play the chicken shit heel and just right on cue. Just like that. It was perfect.
Yeah, I mean, it was like it played out like you said, it played out like a match is supposed to play out. Like, um, starting the match, I had to remind myself like this is the '80s. This wasn't something that they like stage out behind the scenes. There's no producers for the match like we have nowadays. Like you basically called your stuff in the ring and just saw if it flew. And yeah, you just gotta remind yourself of that sometimes. Like when it's the '80s, like that's what it was. Like nothing more, nothing less. Like it's not gonna be like over the top spectacles and pyro everywhere. Like this was the '80s, and this is what we had to deal with. And so it was a cool little time capsule of going back and watching wrestling in a different form that I forgot about a long time ago. Um, but yeah, but like you see, they were calling the match in the ring as they were going with the side headlocks, like the rest holds to get the match started, and just trying to figure each other out in the ring to keep it going. So for the most part, me personally, I enjoyed the length of the match. It wasn't too long because this is also the time where Ric Flair is known for like 60-minute matches.
Yeah.
Yeah, and like most of the time, I've always associated Ric Flair's classic matches with something that has to do with something 45 minutes plus, especially in his earlier years when he was still more active. And I was like, I hope this is not it. But no, but they gave it enough time to breathe, and they got their story told in the ring. So it was pretty decently good.
I went in like it's gonna be a slow match, like old wrestling moves that are like now like the typical, like they're big. I went in thinking the big moves that they're gonna do are like the starter moves that wrestlers do now. So I thought, oh, it's gonna be a little boring, but it did start off that way. But like Art said, it picked up real quick. The only little issue that I had, it's really not even a big deal, but when VonErich goes for the sleeper, it looks like Ric Flair adjusts the sleeper, like the arm, to put it in the correct spot. It looked like he adjusted it, and I was like, "Ooh."
Yeah. Yeah, I caught that too, and I was like, that's okay. You got to keep in mind though, people who paid for this event are watching it on like a 20-inch tube TV that's all fuzzy, so they're not getting the HD treatment like we are.
No, true. I mean, it's not even anything to scuff about. It was just something I noticed. Like we notice it nowadays too, and stuff. So it's just like it was just funny, I guess, to me.
Yeah. I did enjoy Ric Flair in this match. Like I normally don't like the style of the kind of chicken shit heel, but he did it pretty well in this match. Like you could tell he had his moments where he's like, styling and profiling, but then it was almost like where he knew he was getting his ass kicked. And so he's like doing that and getting to the corner and trying to, take a break, and Kerry Von Erich just played it up so well.
How long had he been in wrestling at this point?
Flair or Von Erich?
No. Von Erich.
Man, I don't know that. We'll have to look that up, but that actually gives us a great moment to take our one and only commercial break to figure out how long Kerry Von Erich had been in pro wrestling. So we'll be right back in just a minute with the
I'm sorry I asked.
Hello, wrestling fans. This is Fanboy Dave. Catch myself, Big Kev, and Jeremy from Brothers of Discussion weekly on Spotify, Apple Podcasts, and any other platform you use to listen to your favorite podcasters. We talk about WWE mostly and have a real good time giving our takes. And every now and then, might throw a little shade at AEW. So hope you give us a shot. You won't be disappointed.
Hey, everybody. Welcome back from the break. We do have the information that we were trying to figure out. So we're going to toss it over to our Encyclopedia Blacktanica, shirt's possibly coming soon, for the information. So, Lathan, how long had Kerry Von Erich been wrestling by the point he won the NWA title?
So he started his career back in 1978. So you're looking at 16 years, 6 years.
God.
Shit. 6 years.
He's an encyclopedia, not a calculator.
Thank you.
I'm going to change up the shirt. Instead of the tomahawk bone, it's just going to be a calculator.
Let's just see like these monocle glasses on, bifocals.
Oh, man. So Kerry Von Erich had been wrestling professionally about 6 years, all in WCCW at this point, when he won the NWA championship. We figured out Ric Flair had been wrestling for how long?
That's 72.
So 12 years. So he started his professional career 1972 when he was 50 years old. So he had been wrestling professionally at this point 12 years at 50 years old. So the math checks out. But we end up with the end of the match. We have a finish that I found very underwhelming. We had the backslide into the pin for the 1, 2, 3. Kerry Von Erich is the new NWA World Heavyweight Champion. We get the family in the ring. Mike, Kevin, Chris, the surviving brothers, come in to celebrate with him. We get gentleman Chris Adams in the ring with him.
Your claw!
What was that? That was like a prostate exam. Yeah!
Prostate claw.
That's the real claw right there.
I'm gonna get in your ass.
Now we understand why George dropped out of medical school.
Rip his dick off. Okay, never mind. Cut that out. or censor it. Just bleep it out.
Oh my God, I almost spewed my beer all over the computer.
Oh, wow.
Oh my God. That one's staying in and getting trimmed for TikTok.
Oh, man. Bleep it out, though. Let people imagine what I said.
Yeah, because we, saying dick on the episode is way worse than saying fuck, shit, ass, whatever.
Maybe, I don't know.
Time for our Patreons to get the behind the scenes footage.
Oh, can we do a podcast version of OnlyFans?
For $2.99, you get that behind the scenes action. Yeah.
You get to hear Lathan uncensored say big men bumping meat.
Oh man.
We can do whatever as long as people are willing to pay for it.
I don't so I think there's certain rules
Fuck
that would say
rules.
otherwise. Oh, so all right, guys, the end of the match. What y'all give me your thoughts about the match in its entirety, and then we'll rate it.
Yeah, like I said earlier, started off a little slow, but I expected the worst or the lamest. So the whole middle of the match or the meat of the match was actually very good. Like it was entertainment. I can't get over my comments. It was very entertaining. but the end of it, like the little rollover kind of thing, that kind of sucked. Like I expected like a big finish move. It almost looked like they messed up and the pin got pinned and they had to go with it. But I don't know. But this one wrestler did tell me in my interview with him on Too Hard Too Fast podcast, he did say that he does not like to have to do a finisher move every time. You know, like if we're keeping wrestling and making it as real as possible, then you don't go for the finish every time, like the same finisher every time. It's not a movie. It's you win however you get the win.
That makes sense. I can see that. I guess my thing is in such a big profile match to win by a backslide, and it was just a little weird to me. But Lathan, what'd you think, man?
It was uh, it was good. I was trying to find the right words for it to explain it, but in simplicity, it was a good match. Um, I mean, it was a match that going into it as a fan of '90s and 2000s current wrestling, you have to put yourself back in a different context of the time that it was, and if you don't go back and watch these, then it's all just left up to the clips that we see from the documentaries and stuff. But to actually go back and watch it for the first time, it was good. It was entertaining for the match that I expected it to be for the time frame. Because it was two big bumping meat equivalent type of match back then. But yeah, but no, it was a good match overall, like a good quality match. Not one of Ric Flair's best matches, to say the least, but like for the context and for the story around the match, it had a good ending. Slow start, sure, but like it had a good ending, had a heartfelt ending, and it left everybody happy when they left the match. So as long as you entertain and you leave happy as a fan, then surely it's a great match.
I agree with that. I found it I found it very entertaining. It was very much what you kind of expect from a mid 80s style match outside of the big production of WWEF at the time. With two big guys bumping meat who could actually perform. I mean, you end up with people like that in the WWF, WWE that you see later on with Kerry Von Erich going to the WWE, where he very much is being kind of held down by their expectation of him. This is very old school territory style, calling the match in the ring, no production to it. I mean, I don't know if y'all caught it, but the cameraman who jumped into the ring after the match was wearing knee pads. So that dude was jumping around trying to get the camera shots. I mean, I really enjoyed the match for what it was. Again, not a huge fan of the finish, but um not unhappy with watching it. So let's go ahead and rate it, guys, and then we're gonna get out of here. And
Wait, before we rate it, I do wonder what the audience would have acted like if the hometown guy would have lost.
I thought about that too, man. Like I think coming into it, everybody, I mean, it's the Von Erich tribute show for David. Like how, man, Ric Flair would have been the most hated person.
He would have died.
You think? Yeah, somebody
would have fucking died.
But would he had cemented his legacy even more as the dirtiest player in the game?
I think if he had cheated to win, like you hit the low blow and then you do like a small package, win the match, grab the belt, and you're gone. Like, yeah, that would have that would have seemed, I mean, that would have been something that people talk about forever. That would, I mean, and this match, I think, is one of the biggest matches that is part of the legacy of wrestling in itself because of what it represented with Kerry winning it for the first time. But man, if Ric Flair had,
The only time.
yeah, and he didn't hold the belt very long. I think if he had cheated, won the match, I honestly think that would have done more for pro wrestling in totality than Kerry Von Erich winning the match. So that's, I thought about that too, George.
If Ric Flair would have won, it's probably a small exaggeration, but he would have been brutally hospitalized. Somebody in that crowd would have caught him slipping at the hotel and done something dirty to him. The way that, and it's crazy because like the way that the fandom is for the Von Erichs back then. Like you hear something about their legacy in the Dallas area. Like, yeah, they like they probably would have done something reckless to Ric Flair, not thinking about it, and just showing blind loyalty to the Von Erichs. But yeah, that would have been a cool alternate universe type of ending where Ric Flair would have walked out. But you guys look back.
It was all in all, it was a good match. It was one of my favorite matches that we've reviewed so far. So let's go ahead and rate it, guys. So Lathan, before you barge in and interrupt everybody, what you got?
No, I got nothing now.
An asshole.
I would take it into account that it was in the 80s.
So for everything
gotta,
that it is.
Right, you got to take into account what it is and when it is for what we're watching. You can't judge it by 2024 standards.
Oh, absolutely. Yeah, that'd be unfair. That'd be totally unfair. I give it a 2.8 out of 5.
Interesting. Wow.
Yeah. I mean, it's like literally when it comes to older matches, it's always been one of those that's always historically stuck out. Like on my hand, Ricky the Dragon Steamboat versus Macho Man, Andre the Giant versus Hulk Hogan, Ric Flair versus Steamboat. Like there's a handful of different matches historically that everybody still puts in high reverence, and this is one of them. And so it was fun. It was kind of like me kicking myself in the ass on why it took so long to watch it, just to get the full enjoyability out of it. But watching it from the lens of it being in the 80s and the weight emotionally and contextually that went into it, it did what it was supposed to do. So it kept everybody entertained and kept a good story going. So yeah.
Nice. George, what you think, man?
I would have put it in the 3s if it had a bigger finish or a more suspenseful finish, but I'm giving it a 2.99.
Oh. Yeah. All right. So was it the finish that got you?
I think that's the only thing. Yeah, like everything else, slow start doesn't really matter because it really took it into a whole other level. Like I said, in the whole middle area of the match, but I just was after it picked up. I was expecting a big finish, but or even a submission. Maybe not a submission, but just something like definitive that was like, oh, okay.
Yeah.
He put him over.
Yeah. Well, so I gave it a 3.2. So we're all kind of in the same zone there with our ratings, and I 100% agree, George. My biggest note on here said underwhelming finish. I get why they did it with the backslide. I get it. It's like you said, the wrestler that you spoke to says you can't have the finisher be the finish all the time. Makes sense. But you in a match like this, you kind of expect more for the ending of it because Parade of Champions was a big one for them. You know, for WCCW, that was a big show for them, and a changing of the titles with the NWA Championship. I kind of expected more. So I did give them an extra point though, because at the very end, Kerry Von Erich laying the Texas flag in the ring and then wrapping the belt in it. I was like,
What was that? Yeah, what was the significance of that?
I don't think anything other than now this belt belongs in Texas. Because keeping in mind the whole territory thing, I mean, there were so many different ones and they were from all over different parts of the country that outside of Terry Funk and his brother being NWA champions, I don't think Texas had seen an NWA champion since then, and that was earlier than this. So I love Texas. So seeing the belt wrapped in the championship with that yellow rose next to it made my day. So guys, hey, we got this wrapped up. Any final thoughts on the show?
Nah, I enjoyed it.
Go ahead, George.
Oh, it's all right. I just said I enjoyed it. It was good to watch. It was a good watch.
I sat back and watched a couple more matches off of the card, and it was pretty entertaining. Especially the mixed tag match. That was kind of weird. But overall, it was a good match. But I forgot. I put this in my notes, but I completely forgot to point this out. In the match was actually interesting in a stipulation that Ric Flair could even lose the title by DQ.
Oh, that's right. They mentioned we completely glossed over that. Yeah. So okay, that kind of
and there was no time limit.
Yeah.
And there was no time limit.
That makes it very interesting because you think after all the stuff we said that I said about like, ooh, a low blow and then the pin, you could have used that really in advantage of making Ric Flair hate it even more, because if he gets disqualified, he loses the title. So he's got to do something to get the referee's attention elsewhere. Boom, he went, man. Yeah, that could have been really interesting on how they took that and the opportunity that they could have done with it. But I think for all in all, final thoughts on this, it was a good tribute to David Von Erich, who, again, way too young, dying, which became a trend with the Von Erichs. So if y'all are interested in seeing anything else about the Von Erich family, us from Texas, I grew up knowing about the Von Erichs. My mom was a wrestling fan and knew all about the Von Erichs and stuff, so I kind of knew about them. But go check out it's on Peacock, the Rise and Fall of WCCW, or the Life and Death of WCCW. It's under one of those names, and go check out the Dark Side of the Ring for the story with them, and go see the movie. Don't be like me and wait. Go see the movie. It's on Max right now. Go check.
You're on Max right now.
I'm Max right now, baby.
You know the kids, Kevin's kids, Kevin, like I know Kevin Von Erich. They live in Bernie, Texas.
Yeah,
not too far from us.
Yeah, Kevin, they moved from Hawaii. We had talked about that on one of the other episodes, but
well, they're still super active in wrestling.
Yeah, yeah, hopefully, I'm hoping they're going to make it to, because they've been on AEW for a little while now. So hopefully they'll.
What a waste. What a fucking waste.
Yeah.
What an MLW.
That's a whole other episode we could get into on the and eventually we will, the rise and fall of AEW after Triple H purchases that company. So guys, thank y'all. Everybody watching, listening, watch the social media pages for what we have coming up in July. You're not going to want to miss it. We got some ideas that are percolating, and it's going to be good. So everybody here at a Ducking Wrestling Podcast, we hope everybody has a great start of the summer, and we will see y'all in July for the next episode. Bye!